Before I begin my story, I would like to explain to you what the zone is and where it came from. Get comfortable, this will be quite a tale.
On the night of April 26, 1986, the reactor of the fourth power unit of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant collapsed as a result of a powerful thermal explosion. Radioactive dust carried by the wind partially fell on the territory of the USSR, leaving radiation hotspots in Europe and even reaching the shores of America. The consequences of the accident were so serious that the government of the Soviet Union was forced to conduct an emergency evacuation of nearby settlements. The contaminated areas within a radius of 30 kilometers from the station turned into a strictly guarded exclusion zone. After the construction of a concrete sarcophagus over the destroyed power unit, the operation of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant resumed. The availability of a powerful energy source and the absence of population allowed the establishment of a complex of secret laboratories in the closed territory. On June 10, 2006, the zone suddenly lit up with unbearable light. For a few moments there was complete silence, and clouds were seen evaporating in the sky. Then a terrible rumble came, and the earth shook. Most of the military personnel guarding the perimeter were instantly killed. Scientists still cannot provide coherent explanations for what happened. Expeditions invariably end in tragedy, and rare survivors tell of mutant animals with remarkable abilities. According to various estimates, there are from 1 to 300 unaccounted individuals within the exclusion zone. These people call themselves stalkers and are mainly engaged in searching for so-called artifacts, anomalous formations that can fetch substantial sums of money. Despite the cordons set up around the perimeter, stalking is gaining momentum. But only the outskirts of the zone have been explored. Attempts to penetrate its center have ended in failure. In 2012, a stalker known as the Marked One solved the puzzle of the brain scorcher, a powerful emitter capable of destroying the human mind, and disabled it. After that, stalkers rushed en masse to the center of the zone. Some were looking for the legendary Klondike of artifacts, while others sought the no less legendary Wish Granter. In the changed conditions, the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine decided to immediately conduct a special operation called Fairway. Guided by pre-prepared maps of anomalous fields, dozens of military helicopters with paratroopers on board set course for the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Despite careful preparation, the operation ended in failure. None of the machines returned to the base. To find out the reasons for the operation's failure, a Security Service of Ukraine SBU officer, Major Detyaryov, a former experienced stalker, was sent into the zone. With a 2-week supply of provisions, a rifle, and a radio for communication with the center, he begins his journey into the depths of the zone.
I am Major Detyaryov. My path led me to the Chernobyl zone to investigate the mysterious crashes of military helicopters. When I crossed the perimeter, I felt like coming home. In 2009, I had already been in this zone as one of the first stalkers. But now I was facing a completely different story. Arriving in the vicinity of Zatan, I stumbled upon 2 stalkers. After talking to them, I learned about a local stalker camp called Skadovska. My path lay towards this camp, and along the way, I noticed a strange anomalous phenomenon, a steam anomaly. At first glance, it seemed like nothing special, but I decided to throw a bolt into it. And then something amazing happened. A stream of steam burst out of the anomaly, reaching temperatures of up to 700 degrees Celsius. Nearby stood stalkers, apparently preparing to retrieve artifacts from this anomaly. Stalkers nowadays are not just wanderers but seekers of valuable artifacts capable of bringing both blessing and misfortune. But to find them, special detectors are needed. I watched as one of the stalkers in an advanced suit boldly entered the anomaly, while his companion, apparently a novice, stood behind him, helplessly watching what was happening. Suddenly, the stream of steam burst out, injuring the stalker. It was obvious that action needed to be taken quickly. I approached the anomaly and provided first aid to the wounded. The stalker turned out to be grateful and gave me a modern detector called Bear as a token of gratitude. After a brief conversation, I continued on my way. When I reached Skadovska, I was greeted by a bald, good-natured bartender known as Baroda. He offered me some vodka, and I couldn't refuse. Skadovska is an old ship turned into a base by stalkers and bandits. Here, neutrality reigns, and it's the only place where they can meet without fear of each other. But my arrival did not go unnoticed. Bandits led by Sultan offered me work to help them drive stalkers out of Shevchenko. I agreed, although deep down I didn't believe in the success of this endeavor. My experience with bandits had been extremely negative. Approaching Baroda and informing him of Sultan's plans, I heard from him only one phrase, agree, and ours will already set up an ambush. Realizing that my choice was limited, I agreed and offered my help. But before Baroda told me what he knew about the crashed helicopters, he asked me to help him with one task. I understood that I would have to wait a little longer before getting the necessary information. Thus began my journey in the Chernobyl zone. The story of my investigation into the crashed helicopters will continue for a long time.
Before heading to Shevchenko, I decided to take a look around Skadovsk, a place where the destinies of stalkers, bandits, traitors, and ordinary people trying to survive in the dangerous world of the zone intersect. Meeting unusual personalities on this ship often turned out to be more interesting than I expected. On the upper decks of the ship, one could find various types of characters. For example, there was a medic named Trevor, whose hands, judging by the bandage on his left one, were constantly busy. Nearby lay a wounded stalker who had survived a skirmish with mutants in the zone. Two more stalkers, surrounded by mystery and danger, conversed on the side, drawing attention with their stories and fates. Seeing me, one of them, a certain Gonta, approached and asked if I had encountered a stalker known as Soroka. His words were so piercing that I couldn't help but listen. Gonta told me a story about how he and Soroka went hunting for a chimera. Adventures in the zone are always full of surprises, and Gonta's story was no exception. When they encountered the chimera, Soroka, frightened, decided to run away, not forgetting to take all the loot with him, leaving his comrades defenseless. Such betrayals are not uncommon in the world of the zone. As a person who has experienced all its charms and dangers, I have encountered such situations more than once. Nevertheless, every new story heard in this place made me think about the unpredictability and duality of the zone. Agreeing to take on the task of finding and punishing Soroka, I received from Gonta the coordinates of the place where, according to him, the traitor was last seen. He offered me a reward for this job, and I agreed. Leaving the infirmary, I continued my journey through Skadovsk. There were many interesting characters on the ship, each with their own story and goals. A trader known as Psyche offered various goods, among which one could find exclusive items capable of helping to survive in the zone. Carden, a technician, was engaged in repairing equipment and weapons, and his services were always in demand among stalkers whose lives depended on the condition of their arsenal. Also on the ship, one could meet Shustri, a nimble guy who, for a small fee, could deliver anything from the zone without asking unnecessary questions. After spending some time on the ship, I decided to head to Shevchenko. Evening time, when it got dark, was not the safest for traveling in the zone, but it was necessary. I knew that stalkers had long been waiting for bandits at Shevchenko, and my help could be very useful to them. As I approached Shevchenko, a moment of tension descended. The air was thick with danger, as if the zone itself foretold the impending clash. I knew the stalkers had set up an ambush for the bandits, and that a firefight could erupt at any moment. I didn't have to wait long. Shortly after my arrival, gunfire erupted. The bandits, unexpectedly caught in the stalker ambush, had to act swiftly and decisively. I joined the stalkers, assisting them in their struggle against the bandits. The battles were fierce, with each side striving to use any means available to survive. I did everything I could to support the stalkers, firing at the bandits and aiding the wounded. My experience as a soldier and investigator proved invaluable in this fight. Spartak, the leader of the stalkers, expressed his gratitude to me for helping in the battle and gave me some money as a reward. I accepted it gratefully, but knew that for me, it was only the beginning. In the zone, there would always be a new task, a new puzzle to solve, requiring my attention. Leaving Shevchenko and returning to Skadovsk, I reminded Baroda of his obligations under the contract. However, he once again asked for my help, offering another task. Though I felt that my involvement in the affairs of the zone was not yet over, I agreed. After all, it was here, in the heart of this dangerous and mysterious world, that I felt alive, full of purpose and meaning.